Today we are back in the garage, so it's either going to be, as you know it, upgrades, repairs, or maintenance. In today's episode, we are working on maintenance. If you guys step on over here, this is what we have that's in the lineup. So we have transmission fluid and transfer case fluid, and also front and rear differential fluids. So I already have everything set up for us, as well as the various crush washers that we'll use. And tools we're gonna use: bucket, pump, and grease gun. We're gonna get to that part too as well. We're gonna grease the drive shaft as well as the upper ball joints. And then we'll have a 24mm socket over here, and 10mm Allen, 14mm socket here, as well as a 5mm Allen here. We're gonna use these various tools for the differential and the transfer case, along with the transmission. I forgot, we also will be using a drain pan. All right, so let's not waste any more time. I'm gonna show you guys step by step how to get this done. Super easy. And I'm gonna show you guys this little trick, because when it comes to the transmission, if you guys don't have a scan tool or a scan gauge to read your transmission, I'm gonna show you what this little guy here is gonna be able to do. All right guys, a real quick review. Front differential requires 1.47 quarts for the front. The rear differential requires 2.85 quarts for fluids. Transfer case takes about 1.47 quarts. The transmission, we're just gonna do a drain and fill. I've already done a full fluid exchange at 112,000 miles, and so being at 30,000 miles, it's gonna be safe to go ahead and just do a drain and fill. I've also replaced the transmission filter at that time too as well, so I'm not gonna showcase that. It's gonna be a basic drain and fill for the transmission. All right guys, working on the front differential. You guys take a look, the top one there, that's gonna be the fill plug, and right down over here, right there, that's gonna be the drain plug. So what we wanna do first is get that fill plug loosened first before we loosen the drain bolt. Because if you get that drain bolt out, but then you can't get the fill plug out, you're gonna be in a bind. So we're gonna grab that 10mm Allen head and break open that front, break open the filler plug. After that, we'll break open the drain plug right down over here. All right, gang, first thing is first. Placing down my drain pan right beneath the differential. Crack this guy open. So that broke free. Alright, so that's also broken free. It's a little bit dark, a little milky. So at 30,000 miles, that's what that looks like. While the front differential drains, we're gonna go and take a look at the bolt here. The main drain bolt, you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but it does have a magnet on that. And then on the actual cloth itself, down over here, you guys can see where it's kind of black over here. That's what I rubbed off from the drain bolt. And we're gonna move on to replacing the washers. So that's what came off. I'm gonna put the new ones on, just like so. There's one. And this one was a crush washer. Let's replace it with a crush washer. So this is the orientation. The flat side is what faces you, and the one that has a lip that goes in towards the differential. Sorry for the camera angle. Right there. So we've already placed in the drain bolt back in place, and I will torque that down once I'm all done here. But we're gonna go ahead and fill the front differential now with the fluids. Now, how do you know when it's full? You're gonna see. All right, there, you guys can see where it's trickling out from the fill plug. That means it's done. That means it's full. New fill plug, new crush washers in. All right, front differential complete. All right, we are now moving on to the rear differential. We're gonna go ahead and get that fill plug open. All right, let's crack open the drain bolt, again 24 millimeter. And that's broken loose. And now comes the fluid. This drain bolt is also pretty dirty. Now both fill and drain plug will utilize that flat gasket also with the lip back over here. So they're both going to use the same washer, the same crush washer. And again, we'll torque this back down. We'll leave the torque value up on the screen as you'll see up there. What's left now is just filling up the differential now. So just like the front, it's basically the same concept. Fill until it comes out. And this is the third one. So it should be almost filled up. All right, that's it. So differential in the rear is filled. I'm gonna put the fill plug back in, and again torque this back down. New crush washer is already in place. Moving on to the transfer case. All right, guys, so we're in the back of the transfer case. It's this guy right here. This is the fill plug, and the drain is right over here. So let's break open the fill plug. Out comes this one. Same thing, so 24 millimeter bolt. Place my drain pan where it needs to be. And out comes the fluid. These new types of washers, well, these different types of washers, these are just the flat washers. So we're gonna replace it with the old ones and put this back on new washer onto the fill plug. The Ravenel fluid is kind of unique because you can't just open it. I mean, you can, but you can see it has a little diagram where it says to pull these little wings are up. Pull it up. And that is going to be your hose you can press the fluids into. See, there it goes. Makes it really easy. I think this is genius what they did. And remember, transfer case takes about 1.47 quarts to fill. And then here's the second one. All right, it's full. So that tells us that the transfer case is full of fluid. So let's go ahead and put the fill plug back in. And again, we'll torque these back down to its proper value. And I'll list that up on the screen. And now, the last thing we're gonna move on to is gonna be the transmission. All right, guys, so the drain plug is here. And over here on this side of the transmission pan, that's the overfill check valve. There's that. And then to get to the fill plug, I know Lexus and Toyota likes to say that this is a sealed transmission, you can't service it, but I'm going to show you guys that it's not sealed. If you follow my finger, which is right here, come on up, and over here to the left, there is your fill plug right there. So it's going to be a 24 millimeter socket. Just go right over that, break this open, this is going to be your fill plug. Also, there's another spot over here, so that bolt there has to come out to also drain the fluids out from that. So I got a fill plug, drain bolt, fill plug, and also remove this bolt here, which is also another 24 millimeter to drain it. All right, so first thing is first, let's break open that fill plug. Fill plug is out. Next up is going to be the drain bolt. I'm going to go ahead and extract that out. Again, this is going to be a 14 millimeter socket. All right, so we're going to go ahead and plug this back up. They put a new crush gasket or a crush washer on there. That one there is drained. We can go ahead and seal this back up. right, now we can move on to filling up the transmission. So this is the setup, guys, to fill back up the transmission fluid. I have a quart size 7-quart tub right there, my pumps right there, and then you have 2 lines. One goes back into the bucket there, and then one back up to the fill plug, which is right up there. So we're gonna pump, and then once the fluid starts coming out from the overflow check plug here, we're gonna plug it back up, fill in some more, and then we're gonna go ahead and close things out for a bit, and then we're gonna go ahead and do the temperature cycle to check to see if we have the right temperature. And once we do, we're gonna open up this fill plug back open again and let the fluid drain out until it trickles. And when it trickles at the right temperature, we can close back up and we'll be done. So we are pumping. You'll see the fluid shoot back into the transmission. There it goes. And we're just gonna keep pumping until the overfill check plug starts to come out with fluid. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna get the overfill check plug. I'm gonna plug it in for now. I'm gonna pump a little more fluid into it, maybe a few more times. And after that, we're gonna get back into the car, turn it back on, and wait for the correct operating temperature. And I'm gonna show you guys how to check on that. All right, guys, we're back inside the cabin of the vehicle. I have my scan gauge here. It's telling me it's 109 degrees on the transmission. If you guys don't have this, don't worry. There's a reason why. When I told you guys earlier, if you guys recall, we're gonna use this wire here. Now the transmission is very important. When you guys service this, you guys have to make sure that there's a correct amount of fluids in the transmission. If you have too little or too much, that can lead to premature failure on the transmission. So this is really crucial. So I'm gonna show you guys how to get this done. So down here, and right up there, lies the OBD2 port. Now I'm gonna place a diagram up on the screen, you'll see that. And when you do, this is where that wire that we have is gonna come into play. So make sure you plug in those wires directly into those ports, and when you do, we're gonna go ahead and start the sequence to check the correct operating temperature for the transmission fluid. All right, we're back in the vehicle. Let's go ahead and turn it back on. And you'll see there's a bunch of lights just flashing. It says DSS1 on the odometer. So what we're gonna do is turn on the car. Now you're gonna grab your shift lever. You're gonna bring it back down to sport mode. And you're gonna cycle through some gears. Go down to third, second, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. We're gonna switch back over to drive, neutral, reverse, park. And we're gonna bring it back down to drive again, and then to neutral. I'm gonna do this several times while the car's in gear, and you'll see I'm shifting the gears, but the D is just right there. Now I'm gonna shift it back over to park. The D is no longer there. What's happening is it's waiting for the temperature to reach to the correct operating temperature so we can check on the fluids. So we're gonna sit here and wait until that D pops up. When it does pop back up on that dash, the D, the drive, that means it's time to check on the fluid levels. All right, guys, the symbol came back up. If it flashes on you, that means that it's too hot. You gotta go back and wait until the car cools back down. But right now, this is the right time. So let's go ahead and check the fluids. All right, so that means we don't have enough fluid in the system. We're gonna be pumping more fluid into the car until it starts trickling out. All right, so we're gonna wait till it just trickles. When it trickles, then we're done. So it just tells us that the system, that the drain pan is still full of fluid. All right, guys, and that's about it right there. It's trickling, we're good there. We're gonna close this up. We do have a new washer back on there. And we're gonna close the fill plug. With that, once we're done with that, we're done with the transmission fluid service. Just wanna show you guys an inside look When the temperature is over and it's back at its regular operating temperature, it'll flash like this. So when it flashes like that, that means you can't do it. Wait till the car cools back down and repeat the process over again until it stays a solid D. All right guys, we are moving on to greasing every single grease fitting that's on my GX. Starting off with my upper control arms. I have 2 of them. They both have Zerk fittings on them, so I grease them every oil change when it's being done. Next up is we're moving on to the drive shaft, and when you know when they're full is when the grease starts packing out from the joint itself. On the drive shaft itself has a slip yoke, and you would also service this too and make sure it's also greased. And then last but not least, we'll go ahead and we'll service the front of the new joint. And that right there, folks, is when the grease is full, when it starts spitting out from the joints. That means that it's full and we're good to go on that one. All right, and then lastly, we are moving on to a tire rotation, a full tire rotation. I do 5 full tire rotations on my GX at every oil change. The oil change was done 3 or 4 days ago, and I'm getting into it now since I'm servicing all of the fluids for the differential, transfer case, and the transmission. So this is the process and the sequence that I go. I left the diagram up on the screen. If you guys take a look, that's exactly how I would rotate all 5 of my tires when I do this. Again, this is at every 5,000 miles of the oil interval that I go through. When it comes to my GX, I'm the only person who wrenches on my GX, and I find that to be okay just because I know that when I'm working on my vehicle, that it's me who is wrenching on it, and I know when it's going to be done correctly. Now, are there mistakes along the way? Yes, there definitely is. But when there's mistakes, you correct them. And when you make mistakes, you learn from them. So that way you don't do it again, right? How long I'm going to keep on doing this? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm in my 40s already, and I can feel it. My knees and my back, they're just not the same anymore. But I just have a feeling that I'll be doing this for quite some time because I like to make sure that the work is done correctly. So I will continue to do this for as long as I need to. My old man, my father, a great guy, he's in his 70s and he's still doing things like this till this day just because he and I share the same things. We just know that when things has to be done, we do it ourselves. And so I have a feeling that I'll be just like my dad, which I am. I'll continue doing this for as long as I can, as long as my fingers are working, legs, arms, whatever. I'll continue doing this because I enjoy doing it. I go through and I torque every single wheel from the front to back to even spare. They're all torqued to 87 foot-pounds. Man, I tell you, I work out, but this tire right here, this tire along with this wheel, it weighs 100 pounds, and so to lift this up and hoist this and then bring us back up to the spare tire location for my swing out, it's never easy, but this is the most simplest way and effective technique that I've found when I have to lift this up and put it back onto the back of my GX. Alright guys, if you guys have made it this far in the video, congratulations. You guys are a real OG, real legend for sticking around, and I truly appreciate that. There's many more adventures to come, so make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you guys know exactly when I drop my next video. Until then guys, I will see you guys on the next adventure. Peace.